day 134 of Ukraine's resistance. The Ukrainian flag is waving above the Zmyiny Island. My name is Vasil Samokhmalov. This is Media Center Ukraine, and we're starting our briefing with Anna Derevyanko, Executive Director of the European Business Association. We will be talking about perhaps the most important economic and extra political event, the international conference in Lugano. Pani Anno, good morning. Good morning. We have read a lot, we know about the intentions, we know about the declarations, but the biggest question is what is the result of the conference in Lugano? A key result is the fact that the entire world is looking at Ukraine again, and the world is thinking about how to collect the funds for Ukraine's recovery together. I could say that I was actually surprised by the number of people who attended the conference, because in previous years the number of visitors and guests was quite much lower. This year, even in the main platform, you could see at least 1,000 people who were interested to hear the Ukraine reconstruction plan, and it was I also note with pleasure that our delegation was represented by high levels of our state leadership, and I hope that in the bipartite talks they've managed to uh, get good results, and they gained significant investment in our country. For me, it was interesting to visit this conference because I was able to talk to various representatives of various delegations of various countries and institutions of the world, and see what they think about our country and what they think about investing in our country, because I was interested in the question of whether the businesses will be prepared to invest while the war is still ongoing. And yesterday I was surprised to hear that the agrarian sector, even during the war, even without state guarantees, there are companies who are prepared to invest. Of course, this is perhaps not quite the extent of funds that is needed for Ukraine for its recovery, but nevertheless, this platform that happened is important for us to understand what mechanisms are possible for getting these investments and getting help for our country. Because we need to talk about recovery, we need to start creating these algorithms and mechanisms for getting help and assistance now. Of course, we don't have ready-made answers because we have a very kind of dramatic um, case of an invasion in Ukraine, something that is rather unprecedented. And so different countries, even countries like Switzerland, have turned to unprecedented steps that they themselves had not expected to resort to. Some countries have even broken the neutrality of their external policies. So we're trying to figure out the path to take in this new reality post February 24th. And it was very interesting to talk to people even behind the scenes to understand what to do next. It doesn't seem like there is a clear sense what to do next. Nevertheless, the ideas are there. I wanted to hear more specifically about mechanism. Do you have some? Is there an overriding belief somewhere behind the scenes? How will the aid be administered? Where will the money be focused? Who will be determining the priorities? How will it work? This is a very important question, and this list of questions also was also very important and interesting to me. I went to this conference in order to understand what amounts of funds are we talking about, will they come in, and how will they be conveyed to our state. Frankly, so far it was hard to get answers. Only these kinds of basic outlines of the picture. We understand that probably the main investments, or at least the main financial aid, will be coming from the different states. It will most likely be going through state channels. A foundation will be formed. For instance, the European Commission offered one option, we offered another option. I think there was some kind of a compromise, some kind of mutual agreement. I think there should be one institution that to be responsible for the collecting this aid and for administering it transparently for Ukraine's recovery. However, I it is my understanding, perhaps I'm wrong, and I should keep looking for answers to these questions, but it seems to me that there has been no final understanding of how these mechanisms will work, even at the conference at Lugano. So, moreover, who will be spending these funds and how uh, was unclear. Of course, there are different options, but there wasn't some united stance, some united view. At least I didn't hear one. Of course, there are also the recovery plan that will always be updated, constantly be updated, because the situation in economics is ever changing, and we see that even the amount of resources that we need for recovery keeps changing. So, as of today, there are more questions than answers. But the important thing, clearly, is there is that interest from the partners, and they all pointed out specifically the transparency of administering the funds, because it was not so pleasant to hear behind the scenes that there is a mistrust for how these funds might be spent. So it's very important to me, it seems, on our part, the Ukrainian part, to give the impetus um, and consistently demonstrate that we intend to spend this money transparently. Because should our foreign partners and friends see that there's even a hint of corruption, it will be difficult to gather funds for the recovery of of our state. Also, another thing that was interesting to hear is about how investment will come in. Will investors be interested in coming in even during the war? And I got an affirmative answer. I was told that yes, the investors will be interested under certain conditions. If Ukraine continues down the path of reforms, and I asked what positive signals would be a marker for this kind of marker of us moving in the right direction, and they said that, well, your words have to match your actions. If you have announced certain things like digitalization, like improving the justice system, like fighting corruption, you have to not only state it, you have to see it and achieve real results. And once we see them, this, by the way, was said by the Swiss, who are actually quite cautious about investing in Ukraine, despite the fact that they are number three investor. But they said, if we see your results, your positive movement, your progress, they will clearly continue to invest. And if those investment comes in, those will be long term. These projects will be long term. They will train our cadres. They will remain responsible and transparent before the state of Ukraine, so that nobody regrets this relationship. The recovery plan that was represented, is it the recovery of what it was, or is it actually something completely new? Of course, we have infrastructure. Of course, we have logistics. But now what? What happens to the metallurgy? What happens to the agrarian complex? What happens to the IT sector? Where are we going with this plan? I think IT will be fine, uh, particularly considering the young men and women working in this sphere. So I don't think that there will be any problems with that. And the ministry working on that is wonderful and well known abroad. We can be proud in their work. As far as other sectors, yes, it seems to me again there are more questions than answers as of today. Of course, the agrarian business, it'll be interesting for investment, but other things like the cement might be attractive, construction might be attractive, metallurgy is necessary, but in what shape and form it will all take is not very clear. So of course we keep planning, but we have to keep planning, but we have to understand that the plans might change or be adjusted as we act, and we have to be ready to swiftly adapt to new reality. We have to understand as a country, if we establish of the proper foundation in terms of the system of justice and fighting corruption, that I'm sure that investors will come in and we'll see a different country, a new country, an even better country than it was before the war. What are the main motivations of these investors? Is it the simply money? Is it the desire to help? Is it some pangs of consciousness because of Ukraine's suffering? And then, so because of these motivations, due to these motivations, what key message should Ukraine use in order to talk to investors and to attract investment? Okay, look, if we look at it pragmatically, of course, investors come. They don't just come in. It's not a charity organization um, to just come in and give you money. Of course, any investor, is interested in income. But of course, the world is also changing, and international investors understand what challenges the world is facing. And the business is usually trying to be socially responsible, trying to not make uh, income the number one priority. So, of course, their desire to come to Ukraine is connected to many things: the desire to make money, the desire to do something good, the desire to support the country. But also the desire to support the country I mean, you see that it's massive. We see the compassion to our citizens, to our state. But right now, investors are not investing some massive amounts of money. So this emotional component is represented fairly well, but we need to um, back it with with the commercial part as well. And in order to make that effective, this is where we have to do the things that I said above. We have to the proper justice system. We have to make the investor feel comfortable and trust the state in which the investor is working. If this happens, all will be well. The investor will come in. Of course, we do also need state guarantees. That wouldn't hurt, because in many instances, you need guarantees. You need security guarantees, and ensuring military risks. But even creating this mechanism requires time, because even insurance companies are prepared to insure, but the price of this insurance at this moment will be very, very high. So either we really need the political will of the states of the G7 to invest money and insure these risks and provide a serious impetus to the uh, this macroeconomic, macro-financial support, or we'll need to waste much more time to attract these funds and attract investment. But first of all, we have to do the homework within the state. The reforms we have to have. So, with cautious optimism and belief in the Ukraine's economic future, we now say goodbye to Anna Derevyanko, Executive Director of the European Business Association, with whom we spoke about the conference in Lugano, where the post-war recovery of Ukraine plan was